Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, welcome
Let's go.
back, traders. How are we
I
doing
like
today?
it.
We have an absolutely beautiful day. God bless each and every single one of you guys. Come on in. We have a gorgeous, gorgeous green day on GameStop and AMC and the GME warrants. Although they're not all green, I wanted to cover all of them and make sure to stay until the end because we have some very important stuff on all three. But before we start, slap the like button, subscribe, do the whole mumbo jumbo algorithm thing that helps us out, and let's jump straight into it. So you had a green day on GME, a beautiful thing, right? Every day that's green is a beautiful day. But one thing I wanted to particularly talk about was this comment or this news articles on Robinhood. GME or GameStop speed store closures as acquisition speculation puts cash in focus. That is tremendous. In fact, they actually just closed the one by me. So he is doing pedal to the metal, everything he can to cut costs, but he's just got to be careful he's not hurting top line sales as well. But I find that interesting. I find that intriguing, as well as when you look at the short interest, right? You saw short interest take a dip from 17 down to 15, as you probably saw some short covering during this markup. Not all of it, of course, because we know the short interest is most likely much higher, but that is the reality on the reported stuff. GameStop announced its earnings March 24th after hours. I know they were pondering potentially not doing an earnings, which I thought was hilarious, but they are going to actually do an earnings, and the estimated earnings per share, 31 cents. I find that crazy when we were marked as 4 cents earlier in the year, but you've now beat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 earnings, guys. This would be the 7th earnings beat in a row. Tell me another company that's doing that, and I will gladly buy some shares. But what you're seeing from GameStop is something tremendous, right? You're seeing this upswing in fundamental value and earnings beat, profitability, right? But what you're seeing on the charts is chop, mumbo jumbo, right? You've been in this range for what feels like 3 years now and can honestly go back all the way back to 2022, which is huge, right? Upwards of 4 to 5 years. You've been at this price target. You can see right where my cursor is where the price is currently. That is insane. And the fact that the company is completely 180 shows you that it is not going to stay in this range forever, guys. In fact, I believe the best is yet to come on this stock. When you look at the technical setup, one thing remains the same. One very, very important thing remains the same. Subscribe. But yeah, it's my plug. This is the falling wedge that you've been in. We charted this back in September. September when you tapped this top. We talked about it, the potential of it being a falling wedge. You broke down here, failed to regain this uptrend, and then now you're still fighting with it, right? You popped back above it. We got bullish, we got apish, and then you failed to hold. So what you're looking to do now is from the breakout of the falling wedge, you're forming this bullish pennant, which if you break out of, right, earnings coming up, we know the stock usually pumps. I expect a little bit of a retracement here down to the low $23 area. If you fail to hold this, guys, if you fail to hold this, maybe you double bottom and then you bounce out. If you fail to hold this, you're going down to these gap fills, currently sitting at 21.93 and then 21.21. Not the worst case scenario, not the best, right? What I'd very much like to see and prefer to see from this stock, right? Bounce off the trend line, earnings, consolidation, and then we rip and potentially another pullback to the trend line to confirm new resistance, right? After seeing it as, or new support, after seeing it as resistance so many different times. This thing is probably the most prevalent piece of resistance on this stock's chart right now. And so that's what I want you guys to pay attention to. Pay attention to the old support flipping as new resistance. We break that, guys, and we fly, because what you're doing on the technical side is you're actually basing on top of an important level. If I draw a horizontal line, right, like I like to do, look at that neckline from the double bottom. You're holding that pretty impressively. And if you can bounce from that, right, and bounce out of this pennant formation, the likelihood is that you find the profit target. And that profit target fills this big gap, right? This big gap fills all of that. And then you get a big fat arrow, because we like drawing Crayola crayon arrows. You get a big arrow upwards towards that gap fill that you cannot see anymore. Let's just kind of erase some of that. That gap fill currently sitting at 28.43, and then I believe there is one more at 30. I do believe that is the likelihood or the likely scenario in this formation. This is a falling wedge. You broke out of it. This is a bullish pennant. I think you're going to break out of it. These go up, right? This is a bullish structure of a formation. These typically go up. So we will have to stay tuned and see. Besides for that, on the 4-hour chart, I want to highlight this on GME before you guys lose your attention span. Stay with me. Stay locked in. You do have a touch of hidden bullish divergence, which is when the RSI makes a lower low, but the price makes a higher low. That bodes well for the stock price. Typically, that means the RSI is resetting and giving price a little bit of a breather to then run higher. I love to see that one inside the bullish formation. So in my opinion, you're going to go higher and you're going to break this. When it happens, I have no idea. So don't quote me. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. But I was right about this falling wedge. So I think I'm going to be right about the pennant too. Before we can jump into AMC, is there anything else on GME, baby? GME warrants. We'll cover this for my man, the absolute legend, Only in Paradise, has been asking for this for probably 2 weeks now. Kyle Jones, just give me a minute on AMC and I'll jump in there. I love you, man. The GME warrants, seeing a pretty nasty dump on the MACD after you flipped red. You have not really seen a breather in the MACD since the middle of February. So this thing has really just been trading in this rounding formation here, which I believe to be a little bit of a rounding top. If you see GME blast off, you could see this thing blast off too. But what I'm watching for is, right, we talked about the 9-day EMA being critical and very crucial on this stock. And you can see how you kind of rode this thing all the way up, rejected it, regained it, and then rode it like a caterpillar or like a horse, right? Whatever you want to call it. You then failed to hold it. You saw a big, nasty rejection candle of 4%, and then you went to your next EMA, which is your 50. That's your intermediate trend, right? So this yellow line is your 50-day EMA. You're now testing that. If you find a bounce, guys, with nice volume, because you do have a pretty exhausted trend in volume, pretty perfectly, actually, for almost a month now. That gives you the opportunity for bulls to step in to control. But whether or not they do, in my opinion, not financial advice, I do believe this thing is going to go beneath the 50-day EMA and look to find a bounce off of key support. And that support can come in a couple different areas, right? Because this stock is so new, it's a baby, right? There's not a lot of charting to do on this. You could take this a couple different ways. You could look at this overall channel that you've been in and say, all right, you're just going to make a lower low within this bull channel. If that happens, it's likely that you revisit the 200-day EMA, currently sitting at 347, and most likely will be around 350 by the time you visit it. Once you're down there, there is a possibility for you to fill the gap, sitting from this markup at around 329. So keep that in mind. But none of that happens if you hold the 50-day EMA and potentially, right, you hold this macro trend line that you've held since the inception of this stocks ticker, all the way back in October of last year, right? You rallied off of it hard. And this has been a really, really good trade if you rally off of this. 76%. This one was 57%. And then this next one, right, theoretically, if we're within this rising wedge, let's say we come down here. Let's say we go a little bit further beneath, right? You touch the 200-day EMA, that gives you a 42% trade. That's not too bad. That's not too shabby. So that's what it's looking like on the GME warrants. If you wanted to look at it a different way, right, you could look at the horizontal levels that have constantly acted as important support and resistance, because that is how you typically will trade a new chart, at least me. So I'm going to look at historical support and resistance. Just delete these lines for a second. This acted as a nice launch, here, and resistance here. So that's what I'm watching for. If you pull back that 378 zone, and then you have another resistance that flipped into support right here, very, very important level at 337, right? Bounced your head here and then broke through, retested, and shot higher. So that's what I'm looking for on the GME warrants. I do believe you're going to retest this this trend line on the macro. So what you do with that information, I don't know. Only in paradise, but you do you, man. Love you. I freaking love that guy. Comments on every single video. If you guys are not in the comments, I don't know what you're doing, because we are here every single day posting about AMC and GameStop. All right, AMC. I wanted to make a big announcement here, and I'm gonna link this in the video. I'm gonna do whatever timestamps you guys need, but I officially, not financial advice, do what you want with this information. This is me taking my own risk. Have picked up 2,000 more shares of AMC at these levels, and I did so for a couple different reasons that we're going to go over today. I personally really liked the risk on opportunity, right? And that is something I'm willing to do because I'm willing to take the risk of this thing going beneath $1. But this is why I took it, right? You look at the overall trend on the daily time frame. You see the volume exhausting here. You see volume exhaustion. But in the intermediate, you see volume pumping up. And you've just seen the largest green day since back in March 11th. And the importance of this is, yes, you're testing the 9-day EMA. I'd like for you to cross it. But the bigger thing is, if you look at the weekly time frame, you're seeing a nice wick and potentially a doji here on AMC, which would show some hesitancy from the sellers, right? The buyers are beginning to step in. You need a long tail candle like this to hopefully give you some breather, and show some resistance before the dollar level, because no one wants this thing as a penny stock. It's not a penny stock. You can see here also on the short term, you have this nice trend line, or this nice resistance trend that you can look to break and hopefully see a rally into the 9-day weekly EMA, currently sitting at 128. Now, beyond that, right, there's a couple things that I'm watching for on AMC that on the macro are going to be a big deal. The first thing, the weekly MACD. Now, you may say, why am I watching that, right? Slap the subscribe button. All right, why am I watching that? The reason I'm watching this is a couple different reasons, right? You can see every single time that you flip the weekly MACD on this stock, you've seen a pretty nice move, at least recently, right? You flipped it here. That was your bottom. You ran 61% from $2.50 up to $4. That's a nice move, right? If you could be a part of that move, I'm sure you would like to. The next time you did it, and I want to go all the way back in time because I don't think it does it justice. I'm going to delete that. Let's go back in time here. This was your other weekly MACD flip, right? Got it right here. You ran 124%. That's no shabby. That's no small move, right? That's a big deal. Got it here. You ran 166%. Got it here. Ran 81%. And the story goes on and on and on, right? So when you're looking for a historical charting indicator, this one has been pretty solid on AMC. And I like to look at how it has reacted on the stock price historically, and it's genuinely been very, very good. So what I'm watching for here is this weekly MACD to curl up as you see the volume exiting the chat. You're seeing volume dry up. You're seeing longer tailed candles like this, right? And you're seeing a little bit of fight back from the bulls. What I need to see is a doji or a green hammer candle close here. And then you will see this hopefully cross green and come back up. And when you see that, I expect a little bit more of a macro recovery here upwards of $2. And that's going to be very, very important because that's your previous all-time low. That's this horizontal trend line. And what you do once you get there, guys, is going to be so, so important for AMC. But there is more to talk about on AMC. On AMC, on TradingView. I pull up TradingView for a reason. Because I want to see the RSI. The RSI on the weekly, guys. Apes and apettes. Get me out of here. Get that out of there. The RSI on the weekly time frame is genuinely about to do something so stupid that I'm excited, right? You see how oversold you are. It's not going to go down forever. It never does. And so when you pull a horizontal trend line, right, look at where you are. You've been at this level of oversold price action. I don't care if you come and you complete this falling wedge, right? Tap during the 2020 double bottom. You tapped here in 2024. And then now within this falling wedge structure, you're now coming back potentially to tap $1 to 98 cents. If you make that touch, traders, I expect a nasty, nasty bounce. A bounce like this, right? A bounce like this. I expect buyers to step in at these deep, value shares price. And I expect the RSI to find a nice launch pad off of this horizontal resistance or horizontal support. And when it does, traders, every single time you find a bounce and a cross above this weekly RSI band, look at what you've done, right? Look at what you've done. That move back here, that was a bounce and a retest of the weekly RSI band. 60% move. That's not bad. You look back here, a cross and a retest of the RSI band. We all know what happened. You squeeze from $2 up to $13. You see it back here, right? Every single big macro squeeze move where you get halted on AMC, you first see it cross above the weekly RSI band and then get volatile. And so I'm saying to you now, it is no coincidence that when you see this thing run, you will cross the RSI band and you will come from oversold back into your normal territory. And when that happens, I expect the share price to be higher than my entry. That is my thesis. Doesn't have to be yours. You do your own due diligence, but that is why I'm banking on this thing making a nice recovery from this point in time. Now on the daily time frame, let's just analyze this and see if there's anything going on, because you did make another all-time low today. Making an all-time low at 105 was the candle wick down, but you're actually, in doing so, making bullish divergence. Now, the bullish divergence on this thing is out of control, right? You can see just from back here, it's been stupid, crazy amount of times that you've made that divergence. You got kind of a wedge going on here. So if you do find that bounce, I expect that rally, right, into that resistance here. It's funny how that had that drawn up. I didn't plan for that, but that's the case. And you're about to cross the daily RSI band, which will give you a nice relief bounce like this, right? So whether or not that bounces you out, we'll have to wait and see. But it is promising that you've made, get out of here, TradingView. You've made now, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 touches of bullish divergence on the daily. So we'll have to see what this thing does. It is absolutely coiled, absolutely oversold in every single metric, and you're starting to see people talk about AMC again. And genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I want you guys to win. I want the retail community to come back like a revolution. And I want the community and the unity in the community to come back through this channel. I want to be the life. And I want to cover AMC because I love the movement. I love the theaters, and I want this thing to stay alive. So slap the freaking sub button, guys. Come on. The short interest on AMC, we know, is very, very high. Very, very fabricated, but very, very high. 23.67% is the self-reported short interest, equaling about 124 million shares of the total float. Now, that's Neo. We'll talk about that in our next video. AMC has a couple different things to watch on the macro, right? When you zoom out here, that's the weekly. You can see that gap fill sitting at $43. That is our macro target, which I don't have to tell you from here is a pretty crazy ways out, 4,000%. So that's the kind of risk to reward you're talking. But if you go to the daily time frame, you have more intermittent or more immediate price targets, right? You have the $10 all-time low previously, right? That should act as pretty significant resistance for back in 2020. I do expect us to reject there at least once. You then have a gap fill back from the squeeze down, the reverse squeeze, sitting at $13. You have one sitting at $19.40, practically $20, and then the last one sitting at $43. I think that these are going to act as stepping stones, right, or shelves, just like HYMC had, right? You go to HYMC, and you will see I had so many horizontal resistances here that you bumped your head on, retested, and kept going. Bumped your head, kept going. Bumped your head, kept going. And in doing so, guys, you had gap fills up here. I don't remember where, but you had them, and you filled them. I expect something, although might not be exact, I expect something similar from AMC. If you can find debt restructure, if you can find fundamental good things, right? Top line growth, profitability, whatever it may be. That's what I'm banking on for my position. Now you do what you want to do. I'm a long-term investor in AMC. I believe in the long-term success of AMC. So do with that what you may. On the quarterly chart, this is the last thing, and then we will get into our last surprise. But our quarterly chart on AMC, right? You could see this falling wedge. That's what we have drawn up on the chart. But more importantly, look at how close you are, traders. Look at how violent this thing got when it first crossed the quarterly MACD chart. And I like to see the quarterly MACD as a macro flip, right? As soon as you cross that thing green on the macro, you can officially call yourself bullish because that's one of the highest time frames that you are green on. And the fact that this is happening at the same exact time that IWM, right, is going on its rampage, making all-time highs, the Fed is printing money, the bullish sentiment of risk on is coming back. I don't think it's a coincidence. In my opinion, right, I think the playbook is very similar to back here in 2020. I think the stage is set in a way. You could describe it as that. And I think that retail is about to win, in my opinion. Whether or not that is long-lasting, we'll have to see. But I do believe you're going to get this quarterly MACD flip green. I think you're going to bottom here soon. And when it happens, guys, I expect FOMO to kick back in. When it happens, I don't know, right? This could never happen. But I do think you're going to see a move similar to this, right? Look at how this trend was. Everyone probably was saying the company is bankrupt. The company is done down here. And then you see quarterly MACD flip. You see retail come into the stock. You see a frenzy. I think something similar is going to happen back here that at least gets you to $10. At least gets you to $10. But I think it's a lot bigger than that. So not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. God bless each and every single one of you guys. I hope you guys are having a fantastic freaking day. I love and appreciate each and every single one of you, especially Kyle Jones and my other membership Holders only have 2 right now. You're welcome to do it to support me, but you don't have to, of course. Just have it as an option. God bless each and every single one of your families. And remember, the best is yet to come. I love you all, guys. Peace.